that yours?
Yeah, probably.
No problem.
Spread my wings here.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Bill will tell you the same thing about me. I shove all my
Let me see
stuff
that
this
pen.
way.
Clicker pen.
I don't have it. Hey, you know what?
Get rid of it.
No, but give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
Big spring on
Okay, at this time, I will call the September 20th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We will start with a prayer from Commissioner Sarkella and a pledge from Commissioner Wyatt.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to be together to carry out the business of the county for our friends and neighbors. We ask that you would be with us and give us knowledge and wisdom to make good decisions for the community. All this we ask in your son's name. Amen.
Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Leslie, roll call, please.
District 1 Chairman John Block,
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Gary Heberling,
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Bill Sarkella,
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Roger Ballard,
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Here. Thank you, Leslie.
Yeah.
Moving on to additions, corrections, or deletions today's agenda. If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion to adopt today's agenda.
We have a motion from Commissioner Heberling to adopt the agenda. Is there support? Support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to our meeting minutes from our September 6th meeting. If there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wyatt, support from Commissioner Sarkella. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We received your correspondence from Jody yesterday through email. So we will move into commissioner reports and we will start with Commissioner Sarkella.
I was able to visit Port Sanilac. They're working on their water loss study. And they're working on proposals for the acquiring that park that the DNR has in town. It's off the auction list, so they're trying to get funding on that. They're waiting for the, I believe, the appraisal on that property. And they passed their water project compliance audit. And then if you've seen some publicity, the Lighthouse Keeper Cottage should be moving over to the museum grounds sometime in the near future. I know they were working on it this weekend. Sanilac Township has a planning commission vacancy, and they're looking at their short-term rental issue. And CFA staffing has been doing really well for them. And they're also, they wanted me to mention that they have street address signs available. I believe the green ones you see on you can buy those for $15. So they're encouraging people so their houses can be found. And then Croswell was there last night. The Harrington Road path should be finished. They were approved for a waste water grant for the 2 million project at 50%. And then they're going to be working with MDOT on the railroad crossings that are in town. I believe there's 4 of them, but the railroad company and the sugar beet factory are going to be splitting the costs on that 50-50. So the city would not have any costs with that. So that's all I have for commissioners.
Thanks, Bill. Gary?
Yeah, I have nothing really important to share other than I attended our township meetings in District 2 and nothing out of the ordinary. I do want to add, though, I did send an email out to our townships. I received a email from MTA, and I don't know if our townships got it. One didn't, but there is a House bill 5981, and it's a Senate to vote on qualified residential treatment program, local preemption. Townships and other local units of government could soon have no zoning authority or ability to require any special use, conditional use permit for qualified residential treatment programs under a bill likely to be considered by the Senate next week. So I did get a response from a couple townships, And MTA is encouraging us to vote against this bill.
So essentially that bill is going to be stripping communities of their right to zone certain
Correct.
topics. Yep. So it's removal of local control.
So it's an important bill, and I think all our representative right now for most of us is Beeler. We need to get a hold of him and let him know our stand on that.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. I myself have nothing for a commissioner report. I'll share everything during committee reports. Roger?
I attended Flint Township on the 13th, Elmer on the 15th. I have Buell Township tonight, Elk Township next week. I was at Marlette on the 13th. City of Marlette didn't have a meeting due to a lack of quorum. And last Friday, I attended Michigan Works, or a week ago Friday, over in Lapeer. Their numbers are really going up. They've got record numbers in training programs and actually have waiting lists. And that's the end of my report
Waiting list, like
for training,
for people to be trained for jobs.
for jobs. Yeah.
Wow, that's
So they're doing
that's
great things.
remarkable. That's
It is.
terrific.
It is. They're doing.
Is that a requirement that they have this type of training in order to receive funding?
Well,
Unemployment?
it's anything from nursing to truck driving. They do.
I mean,
So there's a lot of opportunity for
does it
people
seem to
looking for
indicate,
jobs.
Roger, a change in the employment market where people are actually looking for jobs?
They are, that's what they feel. Yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
well, that's good news.
yes, it is. And we've filled our, well, I'll get into that in our next report.
The email you sent us about the success stories was very good reading.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all took the time to read that, but some very good stories in there.
Very good. Thank you, Roger.
District 5, mostly interacting with residents regarding the turbine issue coming up with the existing Liberty venture. But there's also a public hearing coming up, I believe, in Speaker. I don't have the date, but it's upcoming regarding another wind turbine venture springing up in a similar area. So they're looking at putting up a meteorological tower to evaluate the winds. So it's still moving along in that way. And then, I'd like to give a shout out to the Lone Oak Apple Orchard in Speaker Township. My family went there and it was fantastic. It's a small orchard over there on, what's the name of the road, M19? And what is M19, yeah. It's between, I would say, what, Burns Line and Galbraith, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah,
By the speaker.
nice little place. Delicious pies, good apples. I don't know if we have any apple orchards in Sanilac County.
Was that
Besides
the
that.
apple orchard that was up for sale a couple years ago?
It may have been for sale about 4 years ago, I think.
Maybe it was that one. Yeah.
And they seem to be doing well.
The new owner, or same people?
I think it's new owners in the last 4 years.
Okay.
That was the vibe that I got from it. But it was really good and geez, we don't have apple orchards like we used to. So it was nice to be able to find one local like that. A thumbs up to that. Go out there and check it out. Unfortunately, it was woefully unused. My family was about the only people there on that day. So
Very good.
that's it.
Thank you, Joel. At this time, we'll move on to public comments pertaining to today's agenda. Are there any public comments pertaining to the agenda today? Seeing none, we'll move on to interviews for the Safe Partnership Millage Board. Is Marjorie Ross here? She is not. Ann, you're here. Would you like to step up to the podium and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Annie Soul. I'm from Croswell. My husband and I and 3 children live in Croswell. I am currently the harbor master in Port Sanilac. My family farms in Croswell. I also spend a lot of time there. We belong to the Croswell First Presbyterian Church, Lions Club members. We just do a lot in the community.
Very good. Well, certainly appreciate your interest in this board. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I read your letter you submitted. I was impressed with it. Very nice.
How long have you been the harbor master in Port Sanilac?
Not long.
Okay.
March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a good summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was financially better, but they say there wasn't as much activity.
Uh-huh.
If that makes any sense.
Any new plans coming up in the next couple of years? Any?
Hopefully some grant money,
Yeah.
some
That seems to be a common theme. Everything's contingent upon grant money. The same thing was happening in Lexington. We were talking about it just the other day with the harbor master regarding a Lexington grant. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to appointments to standing committees. There is none, no chair appointments, so we will dive into the Safe Partnership Millage Board. It's a partial term expiring 12/31/2024. There are two candidates. I'll entertain a motion to put Marjorie Ross and Annie Soul on the ballot.
So move to put Marjorie Ross and Annie Soul on the ballot.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Wyatt, support from Commissioner Heberling. And we will do this by ballot.
Lovely.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Unanimous 5 votes for Annie Soul.
Congratulations, you're appointed to the SAVE Board. Welcome, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting.
I think she had something she had to go do, so.
As they're progressing out the door.
Yeah. Gotta go.
Okay, that'll take us on to chair appointments. There are none. No general resolutions, so we will go into committee reports, and we will start with Commissioner Wyatt.
I have nothing to report.
Roger?
Parks, we have, I don't know if I reported on this before. We have filled our 2 positions, our full-time that we were looking to fill. Forester Park and the office manager out there, and then the maintenance supervisor at Evergreen Park. So we were happy to have that done. And the work is continuing on the Lexington bathroom addition, the ADA accessible addition. That's coming along real nice. And I also finally got word from the DNR yesterday. I think I reported before, our grant coordinator went on a medical leave and we knew nothing of it until I sought out some information and found out she's off till December. And I finally heard back from the director, and our grant for playground equipment at Forester is finally advancing to the next stage. So hopefully we can get that out for bid. We were hoping to have that in and complete this fall, but I think it's going to be spring.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Roger. I myself, last week, Bill and I met as Buildings and Grounds Committee at the Health Department building with Administrator Roski and Bryant Wilkie to discuss the Health Department building. Nathan's not here today, so I'll be working with him to get some more information to the board on that topic in the next couple of weeks. ARPA met this morning. We took no action on anything. The Board of Health also met this morning, and we did contract. We ratified the union contracts that they worked with their union over there. They actually kind of took what we did here at a county level and applied that to their union and did basically mirrored it. And the health department was able to find a grant to provide a recruitment retention incentive in the value of $2,000 for employees for next year. So there was some good things that happened there. That's all that I have.
Good. Thank you, John. I'll just follow up real quickly about ARPA. We did schedule a special meeting 2 weeks from today to go over some things we discussed this morning, but I'm proud to be part of that ARPA committee. We've got a great bunch of people in there, and hopefully we've done our due diligence on many things and vetted things, and I think we're moving along at a good rate and making some good decisions. Planning committee, we are moving along with the steering committee driven by Lisa Kenny, and she's doing a great job. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at the document she sent out there, the demographics of Sanilac County, and some really good facts there. And we really have we have a lot of areas to grow and some goals to meet. And we really have a great county. And we've got a drawing board in front of us to make some great decisions for our master plan over the next few years. And the committee that serves on there, I think Lisa, I've said it before in this meeting, she's put together some very educated people, some people with very diverse backgrounds. And I think when we're done with this master plan, I think the county employees and townships are going to be extremely happy with what we come up with. Parks and Committee, Parks and Grounds. We spent, was it 2 weekends ago, up at the Octagon Barn? And on the way home, on the way up, I said to my wife, I said, have you ever been in Evergreen Park? No, she says, we camped at Lexington and we've been to Forester many times. So we stopped at Evergreen Park and I had one of my antique classic tractors behind me. And the whole board, the whole group from Evergreen Park come out and they thought I wanted to just park it there for their Halloween night. So I got lots of attention, but for sure, Evergreen Park is beautiful and Debbie had never been there before. She was really impressed with
We're lucky they didn't put you to work pulling the hay wagon around.
well, that got mentioned the same day, you know, so yeah, so end of my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
I have a question about buildings and grounds. Is that okay to ask you?
You want to ask me?
Well, it's buildings and grounds and ARPA. It was regarding the water dispenser. Bill, do you mind if I ask a question on that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Has anybody, have any of you guys used the water dispenser yet? No. Well, I have multiple times. And it's delicious. The water is delicious. If you have ever drank Sandusky city water, it's not as delicious. This is very delicious. It's
You can
full of
say
refreshing.
it's spelled SMELL, right?
But, you know, well done to the ARPA committee and the buildings and grounds for getting that put into place. It's fantastic. As I was drinking from it today, one of the comments came up was the little cone cups are difficult because you can't set them on your desk. Okay. But what problem with it, I would like to point out, is it's not particularly intuitive. You really have to read and figure out what it is. You got to wave your hand somewhere. And the problem though is as you're approaching the water container and you'd like to get a drink, back in the old days, you would do like hit your knee on something and bend over and drink, or tap here and drink, because you're holding a briefcase or you're holding a purse or you're holding something. Well, this, you got to get the cup down, hold it there, and then figure out some appendage in which to wave over the sensor. That doesn't work so great, right? So I don't know what can be done, Nick, in terms of facilitating having such a way to have a cup where you can set it in there and then wave over the sensor, but it's rather awkward to be able to utilize.
Well, 5,000,
You have no problem with it.
5,000 of them cone cups come with them.
Yeah,
When them are gone, I have the flat cups to replace them with.
okay,
Nick, do you have any cheese with go with the wine? or not?
right.
We got a cheap grater too.
But it's good. I mean, I thought the water tastes great. You too? Are you making the trek all the way down there to get some?
There's one on every
There's one on every floor.
Oh, there's one on every floor. I haven't been up to the second floor. Does it taste any different, you think?
It's wonderful.
Okay.
The second floor has flat cups.
Okay.
So you got to go up there and see.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. Well, thank you.
Well, the buildings and grounds serve in ARPA committee serve that you're happy.
Okay, that's all that counts then.
Tastes great.
Thank you.
A couple things. Council on Aging met and they approved their budget and the HDC funding for the last 3 quarters. Region 7 was there. And one of the biggest issues that both parties are running into is still need workers for chore services and transportation for seniors. And then Child Abuse Prevention Council met the other morning. The VOCA money that you might have seen some publicity that they were going to pull the funding, $237,000. And that was going to take away all the kids clinic work where they have the therapist and the victim's advocate. And in a couple of days, that all got reversed. So another decision that came out and then turned out not to be the right decision. And then the kids camp that they had, there was almost 80 students there. I'll just pass that down. I'm sorry, Sheriff Rich left, but the kids camp is something they do every year in mid-August. They had almost 80 kids there, a great support staff with a lot of volunteers. And the highlight apparently was the Coast Guard came in with a helicopter and the kids were all pretty thrilled about that. They're hoping that potentially it'll be a repeat maybe, or he's going to have to top that next year. So that's all I have for committee meetings.
Thank you, Bill.
I'd like to add, excuse me, one thing. Last week I attended a community mental health program committee meeting. And I'll tell you, the work some people do down there, well, your staff is some of the most dedicated people you'll ever see. They really are. They're always coming up with new ideas and thinking outside the box, and good job.
Good reports, everyone. Thank you. This time we'll move on to unfinished business. Seeing none, we will go to new business and we will start with FA 126-22, award and authorized bid for tree removal to Parks Commission.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes king stump grinding for the purpose of tree removal, grinding of stumps and processing of wood and split firewood at Lexington Park at a cost not to exceed $8,108 with funding from the Parks Millage for immediate approval.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 128-22, approval of 2022 current claims.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified on the accounts payable report dated August 30th, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $253,622.33.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 136-22, approval of 2022 current claims.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified on the accounts payable report dated September 13th, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $149,898.32.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 137-22, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following amendments and establishes the following accounts as listed.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 138-22, approval of additional general fund bank account checks charged to August 2022.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of additional general fund bank account checks charged to August 2022 as follows. $350,285.52 in payments, $565,151.01 in checks for a total of $915,436.53.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic?
Is this the one where I questioned the $272,000 check? And it was for road commission, not road commission, Green Commission.
I believe so. Yep.
And I got the right answer, so.
Okay. Any further discussion related to FA 138-22? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 139-22, authorization to increase medical examiner budget, Health Department.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Health Department to increase the medical examiner's budget in an amount not to exceed $22,604. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion on the topic?
The only discussion I had, and I've had it with most of you commissioners, I got some resistance from my townships when I did my reports. And after talking to you, talking to Nate, I think I've got an answer for them.
Okay.
Their biggest complaint was that was a big, it was a big amount for 1 year from, 1 year to the next. But I think we got that resolved. I think I've got enough information and evidence to go back and explain it.
And I had a conversation with Brian about this morning, and he kind of indicated that they probably should have adjusted the budget last year and then adjusted it more this year, but they failed to get it done last year. So they made the increase this year seem even larger. So any further discussion related to FA 139-22? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 140-22, approval of the revised project authorization for year 2019, section 5311, capital formula grants, Sanilac Transportation.
Santa Ana County Board The Commissioners hereby authorizes the board chairman sign the revised project authorization for FY 2019, section 5311 capital formula grants for rural areas programs.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 141-22, approval of storm trap sewer debris collection system, buildings and grounds.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the purchase of the storm trap sewer debris collection system from Storm Trap LLC at a cost of $225,000 plus shipping of up to 3 storm trap modules of $15,000, excavation and installation from Rick Capital Excavating at a cost of $9,000, and the inspections, measurements, and unforeseen costs of $4,000 for a total cost not to exceed $253,000 with funding from ARPA funds. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic?
Nick, is there going to be any other costs that we're aware of? Yeah, on what we talked about here.
Just the yearly cost for whatever we have into bags.
Okay.
Which would be changed quarterly and they're about $100 to $200 a bag. Depending on how many units we go with, that's where we're kind of in the. We're looking at the cost of more than just doing 2 units, but there may be the need for 3.
I know you've explained that before, but I just want everybody to hear it. So, yeah. Okay.
Quarterly, 3 bags. Well, about $200 to $300 a bag,
$100 to $200.
$100 to $200 a bag. So $2,000 roughly a year.
That very well to save us a lot of fines by environmental law. Right.
And you just can't cut off the inmates from having access to any.
You're talking to the wrong guy. I'm just.
Good answer.
Oh, yeah, good answer, Nate. Well done. Moving on. Leslie, I lost my place. Did I call for a vote on FA 141? Okay, so any further discussion related to FA 141-22? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 142-22, authorization to utilize millage funds, save partnership millage.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Safe Partnership Millage, the ability to utilize millage funding up to $5,000 to provide a voucher to participants at the 2022 Harvest Stop activity to offset the cost of food offered at the event. Further, the vendor who is providing the food would invoice the millage directly, which would then pay the amount to the vendor.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 143-22, approval of HSGP subrecipient agreement, Sheriff's Office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the HSGP subrecipient agreement for additional radios and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary agreement.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella. Is there support?
Support.
We have support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 144-22, authorization to purchase a public access document kiosk information technology.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the purchase of a public access document kiosk from Advanced Kiosk for the purpose of the public accessing court and county forms to complete forms and print or scan documents into the system, along with submitting to various courts and departments at a cost not to exceed $14,402.22 with funding from the Circuit Court Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Grant.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella. We have support from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 145-22, approval of the captive contribution for self-funded health insurance.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the final payment in the amount of $53,427.50 payable to Contrarian Holdings for the purpose of placing capital investment contributions with Contrarian Holdings as part of the membership of the pooled Pareto Health Program for the county's self-funded health insurance model.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion on the topic?
The funds that we put into this will remain, like if we decide to pull out, get all that back, whatever's left that hasn't been used, right? So. Thank you.
Any further comments related to FA 145-22? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Moving on to FA 146-22, award and authorized bid snow removal, buildings and grounds.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes Steve Scribner from A Plus Lawn and Snow Care the bid for the purpose of snow removal and salt applications for years 2023 and 2024 with funding from the building and grounds budget.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to FA 147-22, authorization to purchase vehicle, 24th Circuit Court Juvenile Division.
Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the 24th Circuit Court Juvenile Division purchase 2023 Ford Explorer from Signature Ford at a cost of $42,075 with funding from the USDA grant of $11,500 and a remaining balance of $30,575 from the juvenile budget. Further authorizing the purchase of a partition from Procom Incorporated at a cost of $2,200 with funding from the general fund contingency.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion on the topic? So this originally was for two vehicles. It's my understanding that when you went back to dig back into it, some of the funding had gone away. So now we're looking at purchasing one vehicle.
As soon as I got back in the office that day, I received an email from the USDA that reduced the funding pretty much in half.
Okay. So you're going to receive $11,500 from the USDA grant. Your budget's going to absorb the $30,575, which you had to spend, and our portion does not change because we were originally going to fund that $2,200, the cage partition.
That is correct, and they do want us to redo the grant as far as making changes to those numbers to resubmit the grant. But as soon as this is approved, we could order the car to get that locked in. So depending on how long it does take, the numbers don't go up.
Okay.
John, I have a comment, really don't pertain to this specific
Okay.
motion, but I've done some research and some counties throughout Michigan and especially schools, rather than wait the 5 years or 6 years, whatever that vehicle depletes itself. Schools in some counties are staggering their purchase of vehicles, especially school buses. So you don't have 6 or 7 school buses all come due and wore out at one time, because it's a hefty payment on your budget, you know. And I haven't had a chance to talk to the sheriff or anybody else, but that might be something, you know, that we want to talk about. It's one of our finance meetings. If we should be looking at staggering the purchase of when we buy 5 or 6 cars, or, you know, 3 or 4 for whatever department, to take a look at that. So we have a newer fleet and they're not all depleted and costs of repairs, you know, the last 5 or 6 years. Just something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I know in the world of school districts, typically they buy a bus every year so that, you know, if you have 12 buses, you're always, you know, your oldest bus is 12 years old, you get a new one that comes in. I think that's a valid point, and I'll have a conversation with Administrator Roski and see if he can come up with something for that.
Well, I think whatever your planning is should include Nick, since he's in charge of motor pool. Yeah.
And we may have to, so then that kind of begs the question, if Mike gets a car for the juvenile division, does motor pool have purview over it? That's probably a question that we don't really have an answer to, right? So that's, again, I think that's why administration should have a conversation about what are the lines of authority and how do we go about setting up, possibly it's something that'll have to be developed in a policy.
Since we're talking about that, it may be a good opportunity to utilize ARPA funds to jumpstart a maintenance budget and a new vehicle purchase budget for the motor pool, so that they can help facilitate moving forward. That there's an active account, there's money in it. We get used to the idea of contributing monthly, because we all know that there's a problem with making required contributions with some things. So it would be a good jumpstart to have an account that actually has some money in it and an administrator that ensures that funding is regularly put into that.
Right. Yeah. It kind of goes back to the concept of 5-year and 10-year plans for building maintenance, things of that nature. Very good conversation. Is there any more discussion related to FA 147-22? Hearing none, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you for being here to answer questions.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to NFA 039-22, appointment of 73A District Court Magistrate.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby appoints Ivana Kucherick to the 73rd District Court Magistrate position effective August 1st, 2022.
We have a motion from Court Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Hebeling. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to NFA 040-22, authorization to amend credit card use policy.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the following amendments to the credit card use policy as listed.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion related to NFA 040-22?
Yes, and maybe don't have a lot to do with this policy statement, but it was brought up by I believe Lieutenant Smith in the last meeting. Removing, because of the use of credit cards at the gas station, he brought up the fact that we probably did a positive thing by removing the tank over here. But the drawback is if DET loses electricity on the Weston and Sandusky, we have no availability to get gas at the pump. So it was talked about that we get a hold of the school system to see if we could possibly get gas. And has anybody addressed that? Has Nathan addressed that?
School system and road commission.
Yeah, school system, yeah.
No.
Motor pool guy?
I'll follow up with Nathan on that one as
He
well.
is on, but I'm. not speaking.
Sounds like an emergency management issue though, honestly, Todd. Yeah, you know.
Good thing you come to a meeting, right? I just wondered, because it could happen and
Emergency fuel supplies.
Todd, if you don't mind speaking, we're engaging in this conversation just a little bit in our last board meeting. You know, we've removed our fuel tank here, which we did admittedly through a calculation of we were losing money by doing that. Now, granted, there was some convenience factor there, but admittedly on my part, the idea of the gas being available to our deputies was not something that I considered. And Lieutenant Smith identified that as a potential issue. It would seem to me that in our community, we could easily have some type of an agreement or a partnership with some other larger entities, say our road commission or possibly school districts. Although realistically, in the world of school districts, there's probably very little gasoline availability, probably lots of diesel. So do you have some thoughts on things that we could partner in our community in case we end up in a situation like that?
Boy, that's a thought. I think our best bet would probably go to some of these gas stations and see if we can work out with, try to get them some type of generating power, at least to run a pump.
Okay.
If we need to.
because I think the road commission does the same thing we're doing, right? They
Yes.
go to Marathon and get their gas.
Every county entity is using Marathon,
Right.
so.
And then in another, hopefully we never end up in this scenario, but another 9/11 happens, there's a run on gas stations, there's lines down the road. Maybe we could have an agreement with the gas station that if a county entity needs fuel, that they're brought up to the line or however that would operate.
I'm actually in the process of planning a major power outage for the Thumb area. It's gonna happen the middle of October, no, excuse me, the 26th. And this may be a good little scenario to throw in there and see what comes out.
This is a fake catastrophe you're planning, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good.
Nothing.
Just making sure.
Sit around in a big room with a big table, and we're just gonna walk through things.
Yeah.
Todd, you know, in regards to that, I don't think I've ever seen a fuel station with an auxiliary generator.
Oh, they're out there.
Are they?
I don't believe we have anything
Yeah.
I'm aware of,
Yeah.
but even if there was a way that we could attach to something, a disconnect or something there so that we could get up and running if we had to.
Mhm.
I think there's several avenues we could look at.
I know Marlet Oil, they bring in a big generator when there's an outage over there, portable.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's a work through. It's just probably be good if we had a plan in place for that.
Yeah.
Good conversation. Is there any more comments related to NFA 040-22 credit card policy? Would the policy committee want to speak to this at all? I mean, this is essentially, it appears to me that this is creating the designee controlling these issues to the administrator controller. position.
Well, it was done so that it's not on an individual's credit score necessarily, but it's a business credit card rather than an individual credit card. So it works good. It seems reasonable that the administrator controller would be in charge of it. So it's a good change.
Okay. Looks good. Well, with that, is there any further discussion related to NFA 040-22? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to NFA 041-22, authorization to amend resignation policy.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the amendments to the following resignation policy as listed.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to NFA 042-22, authorization to amend purchasing policy.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the amendments to the following purchasing policy.
So we have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella. Is there support? We have support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion?
The only change is from 2,000 to 3,500, right?
Correct.
Basically. No.
What was the driving force behind?
Whining and complaining.
Honesty.
I mean,
I like it.
truthfully, that's the way it was. 2,000 isn't sufficient for everyday tasks and purchases. Some would have liked it to be $10,000. That sent a shiver up my spine. I mean, I feel that when we really crack down on this policy and implementation of requiring bids and stuff, it's benefited us in a long time. It does require a little bit more turnaround in order to get things, but it's been a benefit for the county as a whole. We've saved money. We've been able to keep a better eye on expenditures. And like most things, the implementation of that policy and the follow-up on it has prevented perhaps some things that would have otherwise not been spent, if you get my drift. Okay. So 3,500 bumping it up $1,500 is reasonable because there are a lot of services and products that you regularly go through that department managers certainly are capable of handling on their own. So yeah, that's good.
Very good. Thank you. Any further discussion related to NFA 042-22? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, that concludes new business. So that will take us into general public comments. Are there any general public comments today?
I have one. Before I ask if there was any follow-up to my question last week, I wanted to address you as parents today and also in your official capacity, interacting with parents in your constituency. There's a facet of this proposal 3 on the ballot, which has gotten very little public attention. This reproductive rights proposal is as much about the destruction of parental rights as it is about non-restricted abortion. If this proposal passes, it will, the school will replace parents in making medical decisions for minor children. It also pushes the transgender agenda. If this passes, minor children will be able to get an abortion without parental consent, get sterilized, go on transgender blockers, get transgender surgeries. The bill also removes all statutory provisions regarding sexual acts in our state, such as pedophilia. Parents and grandparents would not have access to medical records of their minor children. There'd be no legal recourse for parents. It also lowers the health standards of any facility performing an abortion. Both abortions and any transgender surgeries would be taxpayer funded. So a lot is being said about this proposal, about the abortion aspect of it, but not about the parents' rights being taken away. I wanted to bring it to your attention. Also on this promote the vote.
So I want to stop you.
Sure.
So proposal 3 in your mind, because it takes away parental rights and grandparent, we vote no. Is that what you're
Yes, you
saying?
wouldn't know if your children was having any surgeries. I brought some handouts for you. I'll leave them with Leslie. I'll leave her a copy of this also. And that's not an issue they're talking about. They're really focusing on the emotion part of it.
And those, talking about abortion with other people is kind of a hard conversation to have. But if you talk parent to parent about what they'd be taken away from you, I think that that might be helpful. And just, you talk to a lot more people than I do. So just to get them informed on what this means, and it would be in our constitution, so you'd have no legislative or judicial recourse to fight this. Just a piece of information. The other proposal, promote the vote. It's nonsense to not have any voter ID, but it also overturns the secure the vote, which we passed in the state. It allows private funding of our elections, which I think is against federal election law. And it accepts absentee ballots through election day, not through the close of polls, through the end of election day. And that's rife with fraud. It would allow only election officials to audit the results and have access to the voting information. These are the same election officials that still can't come up with the votes they certified in the 2020 election. They keep adding and subtracting from the qualified voter file. They've even changed the voting history of our current governor and 35 of our state legislatures. They have altered 4 million voting histories trying to come up with this number that we certified. So it's bad on many counts, but to not give the public access to the voting information is just wrong. So we got to work it out for us.
So if I can clarify what you're saying,
Sure.
mail-in ballots should be, or supposedly by law supposed to be counted before election day?
No,
No,
the absentee ballots, according to the current law,
absentee ballot, I'm sorry.
are only accepted up to the close of polls. So if polls close at 8 o'clock, no absentee ballot can be accepted after 8.
Gotcha.
And what they're proposing is to extend that to the end of the day, so that would be 12 minutes. Okay. Now, have you guys had any further discussion about what I asked last week about handouts?
As far as eliminating voting machines in the county, I did do a little research on that topic. I was unable to find anything that indicated the Board of Commissioners has that authority.
I sent an MCL.
Yeah, to me, but that does not describe the authorities in regards to the election.
Okay.
It does not.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it does not imply that we're the chief taxing authority in the county and we have the right to create ordinances on behalf of the county as a county as a
That's what
whole.
I thought might be applicable.
But it does not cover the election.
The elections. Well, Nevada just got rid of voting machines and they're going in. It was worth a shot. I appreciate your time, and I'm going to leave this with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any
I
further?
spelled my name wrong.
Are there any further public comments today? Hearing none, we will move on. There is no closed session. There is no approval of closed session minutes. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion from Commissioner support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 1:48.
Say there's a special ARPA meeting.
It's gonna be on October 4th, I believe.
You guys need a minute?